Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, AI voice has been everywhere lately, and my agency, that's actually what we've been focused on for the last 6 months. We build production voice agents, not, demo calls for YouTube, but systems that handle real customers, real calls, and real stakes. And I'll be honest, getting them to work reliably isn't easy. Most of these tutorials you see online show a perfect 1-minute demo where everything goes smoothly, but when you try to use that setup in production, it falls apart. The agent interrupts people, mid-sentence, it forgets context, or just can't handle a real conversation. And that's the part nobody talks about. The jump from a working demo to a system that can handle hundreds of calls. We've tested pretty much, every platform out there, and the one we've been using in production a lot is Retell AI. Not because it's flawless, but because the team behind it understands what it takes to make voice agents production ready. Things like handling interruptions, managing latency, forwarding calls, post-call analytics, and now also flexible conversation flows. So in this video, I'll walk you through what really makes a voice agent ready for real world, the structure, the tools, and the new features that Retell just announced that make the whole experience smoother. All right, first let's break down the core components of a production-ready setup. And the first one is prompt architecture and LLM choice. Most demos cram everything into one mega prompt. You're a helpful assistant for a dentist office, you schedule appointments, you are friendly, yada yada. And it runs, for paragraphs. It's really long prompt. And that falls apart in production because the agent has no priorities. It tries to handle everything at once and ends up doing none of it well. Now, in production, we should split the prompt into clear sections. Role, so who the agent is and why it exists. Context, variables like caller details or the current time, so the replies feel personal and grounded. Then we have task, a structured flow. Greet, listen, collect info, execute the action, and then summarize. What actually makes this reliable is examples. So include full conversation samples that show the exact phrasing and behavior in different scenarios, how to handle out-of-scope requests, how to format function calls, even spelling emails letter by letter. This is what cuts down hallucinations and awkward replies from the AI agent. Then add conversational rules. We should say, keep responses to 3 to 5 sentences, speak numbers as individual digits, use natural fillers when needed, and finish with guardrails, something like don't invent information and escalate to a human when unsure. As for the LLM choice, by default we use GPT-4o. We've tested it against GPT-5, which is also great, but we didn't notice much of a difference. So GPT-4o offers a great cost to performance ratio, so we currently use it as a default one for our projects. Next up, we've got knowledge base. Demo agents either skip a knowledge base or dump everything into the prompt and hope it sticks. In production, you separate knowledge base from instructions. All the facts like business hours, pricing, policies live in a structured knowledge base that the agent pulls from when needed, instead of cramming it into the system prompt. Think of it like external memory you control. You can update it without rebuilding the whole prompt every time something changes. And we keep everything in Markdown because it's clean, structured, and easy for the AI to actually understand. Supposedly, it makes retrieval more accurate when the agent's pulling info from the knowledge base. Okay, next up, we've got function calling and integrations. This is where most AI voice demos start to break down. You'll hear the agent say something like, I'll book that for you, but behind the scenes, nothing happens. No calendar event, no CRM update, no email, just words. In production, the agent needs real function calling. So the LLM figures out what action to take, like create a booking or check availability, sends that request with the right parameters, your system runs it, and then passes the result back so the conversation can continue naturally. Think of this as the agent's tools, all right? The model doesn't magically know how to talk to Calendly or your database. It just asks your backend to handle the task, and your code or your automation flow in N8N, for example, returns the response, success, error, or whatever data it needs next. So without that loop, it's not a production ready, it's just an expensive chatbot pretending to be helpful. And by the way, if you stick to no code for wiring everything up, tools like na10 or make.com work great. They let you connect your apps and services fast so your agent can actually do things without you rebuilding a full backend from scratch. Then we have conversation control and error handling. Most agents live on the happy path. They assume every caller says exactly what you expect in the exact order you planned, right? Real callers don't work like that. They change their minds halfway through, ask random questions, mumble, or just, the call just drops. That's where conversation control comes in. In production, you don't let the LLM guess its way through every branch. You set up clear logic for the important parts, but at the same time, allow it to remain flexible where it's necessary. So if the caller says this, go here. If they say that, go there. It's not fancy, just structured flow control, often simple if-else logic behind the scenes. And when things inevitably break, because they will, you need recovery, retries, fallback responses, and graceful exits when necessary. For example, if your calendar API goes down, the agent shouldn't crash or freeze. It should just pivot, say, no problem, I can take a message instead. And the final one, the human handoff. Here's the thing. AI agents aren't perfect. We know that, right? And honestly, for high-stakes situations, they shouldn't be. They're not meant to replace people. They are there to take care of the repetitive stuff, so your team can focus on the calls that actually need a human touch, right? A solid production agent knows when it's out of its depth, and it hands things off smoothly. Not a call transfer that dumps the caller back at square one, but a warm handoff where the human picking up already sees the context, what the caller wanted, and where the conversation left off. And that becomes your feedback loop, human in the loop when AI isn't enough. Sometimes the smartest thing an agent can do is know when to step aside. All right, remember those retail updates I mentioned earlier? Flexible conversation flows, warm transfers, better analytics. So you're about to see how they actually help with the production stuff we just talked through. Let's jump to retail right away. We'll create an AI receptionist for a med spa. And instead of a single prompt or multi-prompt agent, we are using a conversational flow agent. Think of this as building a more complex agent with tighter control over the flow. One big win here is, with conversational flow is that you can split prompts per node. The agent doesn't have to carry the entire prompt in context, just the prompt for the node it is currently in. First, I'm deleting this initial node and adding a high-level prompt for the agent. This one is simple, just identity and guidelines, nothing else. Now, I'll add a conversational node and prompt it for the greeting. This node handles the initial, like, hello and sets the tone. From here, we'll add conditions to route the flow. To keep it simple, I'm adding 3 routes. The first one is to answer general inquiries. The second one is to book appointments. And the third one is to transfer the call to a human. One tip here, when you're building agents for clients, you should sketch the whole thing as a flowchart in whiteboard app like Miro or Figma. Map every step before you build, and that becomes your guide and saves you from a lot of deleting and rewriting. I'm moving faster here since this is a demo, and I also have my editors, do some editing magic here, but usually we would sketch everything out in a whiteboard app. All right, so for the first route, I'm adding a conversational node that handles all customer inquiries. This isn't an outbound agent, so we won't force a rigid script. We'll let the agent use the knowledge base to answer all the general questions. I'll add the prompt to this node. It's already prepared, and the instruction is basically to answer med spa related questions using the provided knowledge base. The knowledge base is already uploaded in the agent settings. Here's a nice touch. In conversational flow, by the way, you can attach knowledge bases to individual nodes. So that node will use only the knowledge base you give it. Okay. Our knowledge base is small, so I'll add it in the global settings on the right side under the global prompt here. Okay, next I'm adding a condition. So if the user says that's it, or like asks to end the call, we route to an end node that finishes the call cleanly. Now, what if the customer jumps around and mixes routes? Well, Retell has a global node setting, which allows other nodes to jump to this node without edges. They also have this new feature. It's called Flex Mode, which I'll discuss in a moment. It's really great for this. So for the global node, you need to describe the condition to jump to this node, like if the user has any inquiry related to the services here. With that on, even if the agent is in a different node, any service related question will trigger this global node and it will answer them right away. So yeah, global nodes are usually used for, like general questions based on knowledge base. If you have that, just mark it as global and continue with your flow. All right, the second route here, I'm adding a conversational node for scheduling. This will check calendar availability and book appointments. I'm dropping in a simple prompt that explains what this node should do, how to check availability, and how to book appointments. For this node, I'm creating two routes, one for checking availability and one for booking appointments. Now, we'll connect those routes to functions, and you can see Retell needs functions here. So I will add two custom functions that trigger my N8N workflows. One checks available slots and the other one books a slot. Okay, these are pretty straightforward. The setup is the following. You just copy the webhook URL from the N8N workflow and paste it into the custom function in Retell. Add the parameters you want to send, like time to book, name, email, etc. Add a short description for each parameter so the AI will know what to send. And in the N8N workflow, set the response using the respond to webhook node, and that's what returns the result back to the agent. I'm assuming you are comfortable with N8N. If not, check out my N8N masterclass where I cover everything in N8N starting from the basics. Okay, let's add the two functions to the agent and connect them. Now, there is a feature in the agent builder. You'll definitely want to use it if you care about keeping your flows clean and maintainable. It's called Component. It is a newer addition to Retell, and it basically lets you package parts of your conversation flow into mini subflows. You can reuse them across agents. Think of them like little building blocks, a bundle of nodes that handle one specific task, like verifying a user or processing a payment. Okay, if you open your agent's builder and switch from the nodes to components, you'll see two sections: agent components and library components. Agent components, these live inside the current agent, so they are perfect for keeping logic organized and editable without cluttering your main flow. You don't need all the nodes. You can open them in a separate window and make changes safely so your flow doesn't turn into a spaghetti mess. Library components, these are shared across your whole account. So if you build something you'll need in multiple agents, like an authentication or payment step, you can drop it anywhere, and one update improves all agents that use it. So very useful. Right now, let's do one thing. Let's just turn the first inquiry route into a component, just so you can see how it works in practice. Technically, we don't need components here for this demo, since the agent's pretty simple, but it's good to understand the process, because once you start building larger agents with a bunch of nodes, components really help keep things organized. You can use them to break down each route or even specific parts of a route into clean, reusable chunks. All right, now I'll just connect the end node to our new component node, and that's it. Awesome. Okay, for the final route in our flow, we are setting up the handoff to a human. Up until recently, most voice platforms haven't done this part well, to be honest. The transfer process feels disconnected, and that's a big problem. When you are trying to use these systems in production, you want it to be smooth, you want it to make sense. But what usually happens is a cold transfer. So the caller asks for a human, the agent dials out, and the person picking up has no context. They don't know who is calling, they don't know what's been discussed or what the issue is. So they have to start from scratch, right? That's inefficient, and it wastes time for both sides. And the truth is, not every call even needs a human. But with cold transfers, you end up taking them anyway because there is no way to know what the caller wanted in the first place. Retell adds warm transfer, which fixes this by passing context to the human before the call connects. Here's how it works. In our flow, the call transfer node triggers when the user says something like, "I want to talk to a human." Okay? The agent puts the caller on hold, then dials the human number we specify here in this option. By the way, you can even use dynamic routing, so the call is transferred to different numbers based on conditions. Then there is human detection, so the agent can detect whether it it reached a real person or voicemail, the AI will only debrief if the real person is detected. It will not transfer the call if it detects a voicemail or a non-human response. Next, you can enable a whisper message and basically prompt the agent, like tell the agent what to say when the human picks up. Okay, for example, summarize the call so far or explain the customer's problem. With that, the human gets the context upfront, and if they agree to talk, then the caller is connected. All right, at this point, our agent's pretty much ready to go, but before we test it, there is one last feature that makes conversational flows a lot more reliable, and this is basically the main feature I want you to understand from this video. This is execution mode. Up to now, we've been using rigid mode, right? Which means the agent follows a fixed path from node to node. It works fine for simple flows, but if something unexpected happens, like a node getting stuck mid-execution, then the agent can't really recover. Even with global nodes, you are still limited by how those conditions are defined, you know? That's where flex mode comes in. It's also a newer option from Retell that gives the agent more freedom to move through the flow intelligently. Instead of being locked into one route, the agent looks at the entire flow, listens to what the customer says, and decides which node makes the most sense to jump to next. It basically solves this stuck node problem, and you can still define fallback routes that the agent can switch to at any time if something goes off script. All right, so let's switch the execution mode to flex mode and give it a test. All right, so it says, please note call transfer is not supported in web call. So I'm not going to test this transfer to human feature. Instead, we will go to this route. We are going to test the appointment booking, but then I'll ask a general question and it should switch to this route and answer my inquiry based on my knowledge base. I'm going to show you the N8N executions live and of course my Google Calendar. So the new appointment should appear here. All right, let's test it out.
Hi there. Welcome to Radiance Med Spa. How can I help you today?
Hi, is it possible to book an appointment?
Absolutely, I can help you with that. Do you have a preferred date and time in mind for your appointment?
Yes, tomorrow 10 a.m.
It looks like 10 a.m. tomorrow is already booked, but I do have 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. available that day. Would either of those times work for you?
Yes, let's do 11 a.m.
Great, I'll reserve the 11 a.m. slot for you. Could you please share your full name, phone number, and the best email to reach you? This will help me complete your booking.
Yes, my full name is Bogdan Saranchuk. It's BOHDAN SARANCHUK. My phone number is +1 451 451 451, and my email is bogdansaranchuk@gmail.com.
Thank you, Bodan. Just to confirm, which treatment or service would you like to book for your 11 a.m. appointment?
Just a general consultation.
Your appointment for a general consultation is all set for tomorrow at 11 a.m. We look forward to seeing you then, Bodan. If you have any other questions or
Wait a
need to
second. Can you actually tell me more about, your services? What treatments do you offer?
Of course, we offer a range of treatments at Radiance Med Spa. Our main categories include injectables like anti-wrinkle injections and dermal fillers, skin treatments such as medical grade facials, chemical peels, microneedling, and acne or pigmentation
All
plans.
right, thank you so much. So, as you can see, first it recognized that my 10 a.m. was unavailable. It suggested other time slots. One of them was 11 a.m., so I booked it for 11 a.m. If I go to bookings here in my N8N executions, this is the most recent one, just appeared right here. So this event is successful. If I open this event, my email here is bogdansaranchuk@gmail.com. So completely incorrect. Usually you need to set some guardrails, to make it production ready and to have it read it back to the customer. We usually do that. So just to confirm that the spelling is correct. This is tricky with email addresses. And also, I wouldn't say that this is the most reliable, availability checking system, because we leave a lot of control to AI agent to use the tool and, to figure it out on itself. Usually we would do fixed rules for how to check it, but that's for, again, just for the demo purposes. Now, a couple of extra things that make life easier: custom attributes and column arrangement in call history. You can add your own attributes to capture whatever data you want after each call, which basically turns it into a proper data store. So no need to push everything to your Google Sheets or Airtable, just to keep track of results. It also makes your analytics a lot cleaner. You see exactly what matters and all in one place, basically, right? All right, that's it for this one. AI voice tag has come a long way. If you worked with Retell even a year ago, you'll notice how many updates they've shipped, the kinds that actually make it possible to build agents for real use, not just polished demos. And that's a big opportunity right now. We get client requests for voice agents all the time. And if you're curious about how to land those projects, I've linked a short free training below that covers client acquisition and how to position these services. That's it for today's video. Thanks a lot for watching. If you found this helpful, please make sure to subscribe. I've got more deep dives coming on AI automation, on N10, Make.com, and AI voice, including full project breakdowns inside Retell. So make sure not to miss out. See you in the next one. Bye.